The future plans for our homestead rely so much on this working today. Back in the fall, if you watched our video, we had made a trip to go pick up this old baler and we towed it home with our SUV. And I'll leave a link to that video in the description if you want to watch it. But this baler has actually been in Glenn's family for 2 generations. It's like a 1960s era baler and has just been passed down. We're not really sure if this actually works or not. So today is just going to be a test run to see how that goes. And the future plans for our homestead really relies heavily on this working. The test plot of hay that we're going to be baling today, Glenn just cut it with a brush hog, and then he flipped it by hand with a rake to dry it as much as possible. It doesn't need to be entirely dry because we're just using it as mulch and not storing it a long time. But the plan is if this guy works, we're going to go ahead and get a rake and a tedder and produce a lot more hay. And the implications of that are pretty exciting.
Pretty good. It's a little package.
See if it keeps doing them that small, but
we can always, yeah. I mean, you can always try making it longer, see if you like it better.
Well, I'm just glad to see the knotter working.
Yeah.
I hate to screw it too. I don't want to adjust anything.
Yeah.
Too much before we make sure it's going to be consistently good.
Yeah. Right.
And then you make one little adjustment at a time.
Yeah.
It's so exciting to see that old baler working, and especially considering the age of it, we really didn't have any major problems with it or anything like that. It's pretty much been flawless, just for the most part trying to get things moving again, you know, with all that old dirty grease and stuff in there, and just getting it running again has really made a big difference to just get everything working good. I don't know, I'm just so surprised. You expect like major problems with something that old, but we have a little tweaking and stuff that we need to do, but honestly, for the most part, I think this is going to serve our needs really well. It's just, this is such a huge upgrade. We've needed to do this from the get-go to kind of take the next step, you know, add animals and stuff like that. Because we have the hay, we have the land to produce our own hay, we just needed to get the equipment running to do it. Because the last thing that we want to do is have to worry about securing hay each year for animals. And we use a lot of hay in the garden for mulching and all that, and it just makes sense to use the resources that we have. It's just, this is such a huge deal to us to have our own hay production. The garden is looking pretty parched since we haven't had rain for a few days, and it doesn't look like we're gonna have any rain, at least for the next several days. So I'm gonna go ahead and water all of this. Kaja crashed. She does not handle the heat well, which I guess considering her breed being a Norwegian elk hound, they're made more for Norwegian climate, not 85 degrees in West Virginia. Originally, when we were looking at breeds, one of our considerations was the fact that we thought the dog would be spending most or all of the time outside, and my big concern was a dog that would do well in the frigid winters, or cold winters, West Virginia winters. So I thought, you know, something like a Norwegian elk hound would do great in the winter. However, Kaja is probably going to be more of an indoor-outdoor dog. She really enjoys being inside with us, and I enjoy her company. So I don't think she's going to be spending cold winter nights whatsoever outside. Although she might enjoy that. Okay, next line of business is to go down and get the hay bales that we baled earlier. Glenn had to run to work, so we didn't get finished baling the hay and didn't have time to collect it. So I want to go ahead and get those and find somewhere to put those here underneath our equipment shed, because the last thing we want is for those to get dew on them in the morning and to get all wet and nasty. We actually ended up with 7 of those square bales just today in the little bit of time that we baled. I don't think the 4-wheeler is broke, it just doesn't like me today. So I'll let it pout for a little bit. See if this 4-wheeler will start. Glenn thinks I probably just don't have it in neutral because the neutral light is broke, but I thought it was, so I don't know. It probably is just me. I actually had 2 motorcycles when I was a young girl. The first one, I burnt my leg on the side of it, and then I would never ride it again, so my dad sold it. I was a pretty little kid when I had that one. And then later on, I got another dirt bike, and man, I rode that thing all over the place. And we lived on about 40 acres, and we had all these dirt trails and everything, go mud riding and stuff. But yeah, I loved my dirt bike. I probably should get like something to tie them with, but what's the worst that could happen? It falls off. Noticing the comments on the last video, Cold Spring had commented how we're having quite the year for ticks and I think black flies. I will say that we have had a lot of ticks as well. And it's funny because I always used to think that the harsher the winter, the less bug problems you would have. But that is a theory that definitely doesn't prove to be true. But yeah, we're seeing a lot of ticks too. It looks like I'll probably be spending the rest of my evening mulching this garden. I want to mulch it super. There's one of those flies. Last year we had to hand collect all the hay that Glenn cut. And while we had a whole lot of it, it still wasn't quite enough to mulch this as heavy as I would have liked to.